You wake to the sound of impact, not a horn, not a shout, but the wet, concussive thud of something striking flesh too close to be ignored. The first arrow does not kill you. It punches into the rings of your mail and hammers the air out of your lungs like a fist driven straight through your chest. You fall backward before your brain understands what has happened. Dust fills your mouth. The sky is already gone. Another shaft hits your shoulder. Another slams into your thigh. You're not dying. Not yet. The armour holds barely, but each blow drives you deeper into the ground, as if the earth itself is trying to swallow you to get you out of the way. You try to rise and discover that standing has become a calculation. Pain versus breath. You choose breath. You stay down. Around you, men are no longer men. They are shapes bristling with arrows, staggering blindly through a brown fog kicked up by thousands of hooves. A horse screams to your left, high, tearing, almost human, rears and comes down sideways, its weight crushing a squire who had been fumbling with a helmet strap. There is no time to help him. The animal convulses, arrows vibrating along its neck and flank, each tremor shaking blood loose into the dust. The sound arrives late. Drums, deep rhythmic, rolling off the hills and hammering into your ribs. Not music, a signal, a metronome for death. You force yourself upright and finally see what is killing you. The valley walls are alive. Mounted figures pour down the slopes, not in a line, not in a charge, but in a widening circle that never closes. They do not come to meet you. They come to surround you. Their horses are small, lean, built for hours of movement, not impact. Their riders twist in their saddles as if their spines are hinged, bows bending backward over their shoulders, arrows leaving strings in a constant hiss. The air is full of motion, full of weight. Full, it feels solid, as if you could push against it. This is not a battle. There is no front. There is only exposure. Someone screams an order. Another voice counters it. A trumpet tries to cut through the noise and fails. The camp, which an hour ago was a sprawl of tents, wagons, fires, animals, and half-awake bodies, collapses inward under pressure. You see a knight spur forward on instinct, lance dropping, armour flashing. For a heartbeat it looks right, familiar, the shape of every fight you were trained for. Then the riders in front of him peel away like smoke. His horse charges into empty ground, lungs already burning from days of forced marching. Arrows chase him. They do not miss. You understand the problem too late. You're heavy. Everything you have that keeps you alive, mail, shield, helmet, also makes you slow. Your horse was bred to hit things, not to run forever. The men killing you have no interest in being hit. They are measuring distance, fatigue, time. They are letting physics do the work. The next charge dies the same way, and the one after that. Each time, fewer riders come back. Each time, the circle tightens. The heat arrives as a separate enemy. The sun climbs and stays there, pressing down. Under mail and padding, sweat has nowhere to go. It pools, soaks, turns the inside of your armour into a slick, suffocating skin you cannot remove. Your mouth dries until swallowing hurts. You think of water and immediately regret it. An arrow punches through a shield rim in front of you and lodges in the throat of the man holding it. He drops without a sound. Another steps into his place because if he doesn't, the space will kill all of you. You learn fast. Gaps are death. Stillness is survival. The order finally comes. Not forward, not charge, back. Stand fast. Close in. It feels wrong. Every part of you has been built to move toward danger, to break it with weight and speed. Instead, you're told to give ground, to compress, to let the enemy decide the distance. You obey because disobedience would be faster. The mass contracts toward a shallow, muddy stream at the edge of the valley. You step on bodies, some dead, some not, and stop apologizing because words take breath. Shields lock together, wood scrapes wood, leather strains. You crouch, not because you want to, but because arrows are now coming in flatter, harder, their points punching deeper as the range closes. A man beside you is laughing, high, broken. He has an arrow through the cheek, teeth red with blood. He laughs until another shaft hits him in the eye and the sound cuts off like a snapped cord. Hours pass, or minutes. Time stops behaving normally. The noise never stops. Hooves, drums, screams, the steady percussion of arrows striking shields in front of your face. Thud, thud, thud. Each impact shivers up your arm. Your shield feels heavier every time you lift it, as if it is absorbing weight from the air. Horses die constantly. The enemy knows what matters. They do not waste arrows on armor when they can drop the animals that give you movement, height, power. When a horse goes down, it thrashes, hooves flailing, crushing whoever is too slow to get away. You see a knight pinned under his own mount, screaming as arrows finish the work his armor prevented. The smell changes. Blood, sweat, hot leather, animal waste, fear. That dust sticks to your skin and turns into a paste. Your eyes burn. You blink and everything blurs anyway. At some point, water appears. A hand at your elbow. A cracked jug pressed to your mouth. You drink without looking. When you do look, you see it is a woman from the camp, dressed dark with mud, hair stuck to her face. She does not flinch as arrows strike the ground near her feet. She moves on before you can speak. Shame hits harder than thirst. You lift your shield higher. The circle shrinks again. The stream behind you is red now, clogged with bodies and gear. There is nowhere left to go. Men are praying out loud, not in unison, not with ceremony, but in fragments, bargains thrown upward between breaths. Others are silent, faces gone slack with exhaustion, so deep it feels chemical, like poison in the blood. Then the arrows slow. The change is subtle at first, almost a relief. The hiss becomes sporadic. The drums pause. Silence spreads, thin and terrifying. You know what it means before you see it. The riders draw closer, not circling now, but forming dense blocks. Bows are slung away. Curved blades catch the light. You tighten your grip until your fingers cramp. This will be close. This will be heavy. This will end things one way or another. The charge hits like a wall collapsing. Shields shatter. Bodies slam together. The air leaves you again, but this time it does not come back easily. You stab upward with a spear you do not remember picking up. It goes into something warm and solid, a horse's belly. The animal screams and falls, taking its rider with it. There is no room to finish him. Someone else does. Everything becomes fragments, faces, blades. The weight of another man pressed against you so hard you can feel his heartbeat through armor. Your arms move because they must. You cannot feel your hands anymore. And then, through the noise, through the crushing closeness, something new reaches you. A vibration in the ground that does not match the fighting. A deeper rhythm, heavier. You do not dare to hope yet. You just keep standing. The ground keeps shaking even when you stop noticing it. At first you think it's another wave of horses slamming into the shield wall, another impact your body will have to absorb without complaint. But the rhythm is wrong, too deep, too organized. It rolls through the soles of your feet and climbs your bones, steady and directional, coming from somewhere beyond the dust and screams. You're bent forward, shield locked, spine screaming from the effort of staying upright. Sweat runs into your eyes and stings like salt rubbed into a wound. You blink hard and the world swims back into focus just long enough for you to see the men in front of you hesitate. Just a fraction of a second. In a melee, hesitation is fatal, but this one spreads instead of killing. Heads turn. Someone shouts, not in pain, not in prayer, but in disbelief. You cannot see the hills from where you stand. The dust is too thick, the body's too close. But you feel it when the pressure on the shield wall changes. The enemy push falters, like a hand that expected a door to give way and instead hit stone. A Turkish rider lunges forward, blade flashing, then looks past you, past the river, his face tightening with something you recognize instantly. Calculation turning into fear. The noise shifts. It doesn't stop. It never stops. But another sound layers itself over the chaos. A low thunder, multiplied, disciplined. Hooves, heavy ones. Not the frantic darting of steppe ponies, but the deliberate mass of large horses moving together, downhill, building speed with every stride. The air seems to compress, as if the valley itself is bracing. You hear it before you see it. A shout rises from somewhere behind you, raw and cracked, but unmistakable. Others take it up without thinking. The words are half-formed, torn loose by exhaustion and relief colliding at the same time. The sound moves through the huddled mass like electricity, jerking men upright who should have collapsed minutes ago. The enemy feels it too. The pressure on your shield eases another inch, then another. Riders begin to pull back, not in clean lines, not with discipline, but in confused spurts. Some still fight. Some glance over their shoulders again and again, as if the threat behind them has suddenly become more real than the men in front. Then the valley opens. For the first time since dawn, you see beyond the ring of bodies and shields. Dust thins where the fighting slackens, and through it you glimpse movement on the high ground to the southwest. A line at first, then many lines, then something that makes your throat tighten without permission. Lances, not one or two but hundreds, then thousands, their tips catching the sun in a rippling wave of light. Banners lift above them, heavy cloth snapping in the wind, colours stark against the pale sky. You do not need to recognise the symbols to understand what they mean. These are not raiders, these are not skirmishers, this is weight. This is momentum. This is everything you have been waiting for without daring to say it out loud. The charge begins before your mind can fully accept it. Fresh horses crest the ridge and pour down, muscles unburned, lungs full. The sound is no longer just vibration. It is impact before impact, a roar that drowns out drums, screams, prayer. The enemy on the flank barely has time to turn before the first collision hits. It is not graceful. It is not precise. It is mass meeting mass at speed. The light cavalry crumples under it, bodies and animals folding, thrown aside, crushed into the dirt. Shields slam into riders. Lances punch through armour and flesh and keep going. Horses scream again, but this time it is not yours. The pressure behind you changes instantly. What was a crushing weight becomes a vacuum. The enemy in front of your shield wall breaks contact to turn toward the new threat, and in that heartbeat of space, you realise how close you were to collapsing. Your legs shake, your arms tremble. You suck in air like a drowning man and force yourself not to drop your shield. Someone shouts an order. You don't know who. It doesn't matter. The wall surges forward as one, not in a charge, not with speed, but with purpose. You step over bodies that were blocking you moments ago. You push into ground you lost hours earlier, every step paid for with blood. The fight fragments. What was a single, grinding mass becomes dozens of smaller, vicious encounters. Turkish riders try to disengage, but space is gone now. Their advantage, distance, movement, has been taken away. Their ponies tangle with larger horses. Their blades glance off heavy shields. Panic leaks into their formations like water through cracks. To the north, another line appears on the ridge, then another. More banners, more men. The realization hits you not as joy, but as a hard physical release, like a muscle unclenching after hours of strain. You have not been abandoned. You were never alone. Help was just late enough to hurt. The enemy commander realizes it too late. You see it in the way their rear ranks start to peel away, not toward you, but toward open ground, toward anywhere that isn't closing in from all sides. Discipline evaporates. Orders vanish into the noise. The carousel that kept you pinned all morning collapses into chaos. You do not pursue yet. You cannot. Your body will not give you speed. What you give instead is pressure. You keep walking forward, shield up, spear out, turning retreat into rout by refusing to stop. Each man beside you does the same, not because of courage, but because standing still feels more dangerous than moving. Behind the enemy lines, smoke rises, black, oily, unmistakable. Their camp is burning. Tents collapse. Supplies vanish into flame. You understand the significance, even if you cannot see the details. An army can survive losses. It cannot survive the destruction of its shelter, its food, its certainty that retreat leads somewhere safe. The break becomes total. Riders flee in ones and twos, then in clumps, then in a flood. Some throw away boughs, some abandon wounded comrades. The same ground that trapped you now traps them, river and hills hemming in fear-struck men who no longer fight, only run. You find yourself shouting without knowing when you started. Your voice is ruined, scraped raw by dust and thirst, but it comes out anyway. Around you, others do the same. The sound is ugly, animal, nothing like the clean cries you practiced in training. It is the sound of something surviving when it was supposed to die. The pursuit stretches on until your legs threaten to give out. You kill a man who trips and cannot get up. You step over another who begs in a language you don't understand. There is no room for thought now. Only motion, only exhaustion burning off adrenaline one heartbeat at a time. When the sun begins to drop, the valley finally grows quiet. You stop not because the enemy is gone, but because your body refuses another step. You turn back toward the camp and barely recognize it. What was a place of death is now littered with abandoned wealth, strange animals, shattered weapons. The air smells of smoke instead of fear. You lean on your shield and realize your hands are shaking uncontrollably. You're alive, not victorious, not clean, just alive. And for now, that is enough. Night does not arrive gently. It drops like a curtain, sudden and heavy, cutting off the last shapes of men moving across the valley. Fires bloom where tents once stood, their light uneven, throwing broken shadows over the ground. You sit because standing is no longer possible. When you try, your legs fold without warning, muscles misfiring as if the commands from your brain are arriving late, garbled, exhausted. The silence hurts more than the noise did. All day your body adapted to impact, to constant threat. Now every small sound, crackling fire, a distant groan, the clink of metal, lands too loud, too sharp. Your hands will not stop shaking. You tuck them under your thighs and press down, using your own weight to pin them still. Around you, men wander without direction. Some stare at nothing. Some laugh in short, broken bursts that end abruptly when they realize they are laughing. Others lie flat on their backs, arms spread, chests rising shallowly, as if gravity itself has become negotiable. No one speaks of victory. The word feels inaccurate, dishonest. This is survival wearing a borrowed mask. The ground is slick. You realize it when you shift and your palm slides through something wet and warm. Blood. Not fresh anymore, cooling fast. It coats the dirt in layers, turning dust into paste, paste into something that pulls at your boots when you stand again. Every step makes a sound you try not to hear. Bodies are everywhere, not arranged, not respectful, just where they fell. Men you recognize by armor, by the shape of a helmet, by a hand still clenched around a strap or a broken spear. Horses lie twisted, legs at angles that make your stomach tighten. Their eyes are open. You avoid looking at them and fail. Someone presses a cup into your hand. Water. It smells wrong, tastes of mud and iron, but you drink it anyway. Slowly at first, then too fast, coughing as it goes down the wrong way. Your throat burns. You didn't realize how swollen it had become until the water scrapes past. The fires reveal the spoils the enemy left behind in their flight. Silk tents, bright even now, gold-threaded cloth scorched at the edges, crates split open, spilling coins that catch the firelight and scatter it. Animals stand tethered and confused, long-necked, strange, chewing placidly as if nothing around them concerns them. You barely register it. Wealth feels abstract when your arms still ache from holding a shield. Men begin to strip armor, piece by piece, with fingers that fumble like they belong to someone else. Mail comes off with a wet sound, padding beneath dark and heavy. Steam rises from bare skin into the cold night air. You peel your helmet away and the world feels suddenly too large, too exposed. Your head throbs in time with your pulse. Wounds announce themselves now that adrenaline loosens its grip. A cut on your forearm you don't remember earning gapes open, edges angry and red. A bruise blooms across your ribs, deep and spreading. Every breath sends a sharp reminder through your side. You sit with it. There is no fixing it tonight. The women move again as they did in the heat, but differently now. They kneel beside the fallen, lifting heads, closing eyes, whispering words you can't hear. Some cry openly. Others work with frightening calm, hands efficient, already accepting what cannot be changed. You watch one cover a body with a cloak, and realize only then that the body is small, too small to be a soldier. You look away too late. Someone nearby vomits violently, retching until there is nothing left. Another man sits rocking back and forth, muttering the same phrase under his breath, over and over, worn smooth by repetition. You do not interrupt. Whatever he is telling himself is holding him together. Sleep should come. It does not. When you close your eyes, the sound of arrows returns, imagined but vivid, each hiss making your shoulders tense. You open them again and stare into the fire until your eyes ache, preferring pain you can see to terror you can't. Hours pass like this. Eventually orders begin to move through the camp, quiet and practical. Fires must be kept low, wounded gathered, perimeter watched. Discipline reasserts itself not through speeches but through routine. The structure steadies you more than faith ever could. At dawn the valley looks different. The light is unforgiving. What the dark softened, morning exposes. You see how close it came to ending, how thin the line was, how many never stood up again when the pressure lifted. The scale is impossible to ignore now. Horses outnumber men among the dead. You count without meaning to. You stop because the number grows too large. Burial is discussed and abandoned. There is no time. The ground is too hard. The road ahead does not wait for grief. Instead, bodies are moved to the side, marked as best they can be. Names are spoken when known. Silence fills the gaps where names are missing. The march resumes before your body agrees to it. You load what you can carry, leaving behind what you cannot. Much of the captured wealth stays where it lies, glittering uselessly in the sun. Food matters, water matters, armor matters. Gold does not help you walk. You look for your horse and already know the result. The space where it should be is empty, trampled flat. A saddle lies nearby, split open. You feel something tight in your chest and push it down. There is no room for it now. You join the others on foot, adjusting your balance to a world suddenly close to the ground. The road east stretches out, pale and dry. Heat shimmers above it, even in the early hours. You understand, without anyone saying it, that this was not the worst day. It was only the first that taught you how close the margin really is. As the column moves, you glance back once, just once, at the valley behind you. Smoke still rises in thin threads. Birds circle. The earth has already begun reclaiming what it took. You turn forward again and keep walking. Your body hurts, your mind is quieter, not calm, just emptied. Whatever certainty you carried into this place burned away yesterday. What remains is endurance. Step, breath, step. The war is no longer an idea. It is a sensation you carry with you, lodged in muscle and memory, and it will not let go. The march grinds forward on legs that no longer trust themselves. Without horses, distance changes shape. Hills grow taller. Valleys stretch longer. The road does not care that you survived yesterday. It demands payment anyway, one step at a time. By mid-morning, the heat is back, pressing down with familiar cruelty. Armor that once felt protective now feels punitive. You loosen straps where you can, retighten where you must. Every adjustment is a compromise between mobility and death. Sweat runs freely again, cutting clean lines through the grime on your skin. You lick your lips and taste salt, then blood where they've cracked. The column has lost its symmetry. Knights walk beside servants. Priests trudge with spearmen. Rank matters less than pace now. Those who fall behind are shouted at once, twice, then ignored. Not out of malice, out of necessity. Stopping kills more people than leaving someone to their fate. You pass villages burned down to their bones, walls blackened, wells choked with debris, sometimes worse. The smell hits before the sight, sweet and rotten at the same time. Someone tests the water anyway and spits it out, gagging. No one argues. Thirst sharpens judgment, but not enough to override memory. At night, sleep comes in fragments. You lie wrapped in whatever cloth you still own, staring up at stars that feel too distant to offer comfort. The ground steals heat from your body until you curl inward, knees drawn tight. Dreams, when they come, are not symbolic. They are literal. Arrows falling, shields slipping, horses screaming. You wake already exhausted. Hunger settles in with a dull persistence. Not the sharp pain of starvation yet, but something deeper, a slow gnawing that makes your thoughts sluggish and your temper short. Rations shrink. Meals become gestures rather than sustenance. A handful of grain, a strip of dried meat shared between too many hands. You chew slowly, making it last knowing it won't. Men begin to change. Men begin. Not dramatically, quietly. Jokes disappear. Conversations shorten. You notice how often people stare at nothing, how rarely they meet each other's eyes. Decisions are made faster with less discussion. Mercy becomes expensive. When the road narrows, discipline tightens again. Scouts move ahead, thinner now, more cautious. You learn to read the landscape the way the enemy does, where an ambush would come from, where arrows would have the advantage, where a retreat would choke. Every bend feels like a question mark. The land grows harsher, fewer trees, less shade, wind that carries dust and grit scouring skin raw. Your boots wear thin. Blisters break and reform, each step reopening wounds you can't afford to tend properly. You wrap your feet in scraps of cloth torn from things that once mattered. Occasionally you find bodies along the road, not from your fight. Earlier travellers, pilgrims who didn't make it, animals picked clean. You step around them without ceremony. Death is too common to interrupt movement. The leaders push the pace. Word filters back in pieces. A city ahead. Walls, supplies, if taken quickly. Starvation, if not. The name doesn't matter as much as the promise contained in it. Stone means shelter. Stone means an end to walking, even temporarily. As days stack on days, you feel your body adapting in ways you don't like. Pain becomes background noise. Fatigue becomes a constant, like breathing. Fear dulls into something flatter, less dramatic but more persistent. You don't jump at every sound anymore. You conserve reactions. One afternoon, a man collapses a few steps ahead of you. Just folds, knees buckling, face hitting dirt without a sound. You stop automatically, then catch yourself. Others step around him. Someone checks his pulse briefly, shakes their head, moves on. You follow. The decision feels brutal and obvious at the same time. Water becomes the currency everything revolves around. Streams dictate camps. Wells determine routes. When water is found, men rush forward with a desperation that has to be managed quickly or it turns dangerous. Drinking too fast kills. You watch it happen once. A man gulps until his stomach cramps, then seizes and goes still, water spilling uselessly from his mouth. No one comments. Lessons are learned the hard way here. As the days wear on, the memory of the valley recedes, not in detail but in intensity. The fear dulls, the relief fades. What remains is the understanding that survival did not make you safe. It only made you eligible for the next test. The city finally appears on the horizon one morning, a hard line of stone rising out of the haze, walls that seem unreal after weeks of open land, towers that promise both refuge and resistance. A murmur runs through the column, not celebration, but focus, sharpening. This will not be easy. Nothing is anymore. As you draw closer, you see how strong the walls really are. High, thick, designed to outlast men like you. Your stomach tightens, not with hunger this time, but with anticipation edged with dread. Sieges are slow. Sieges eat armies from the inside. The camp forms outside bow range. Tents go up with mechanical efficiency. You drop your pack and sit, spine protesting. The ground here is rocky, unforgiving. You look up at the walls and feel very small. Soon, food becomes even scarcer. The land around the city is stripped bare, either harvested early or destroyed deliberately. Foraging parties return with less each day. Hunger sharpens again, moving from annoyance to obsession. Men talk about food the way they once talked about home. Disease creeps in quietly. A cough that doesn't go away. A fever that leaves someone shivering in the heat. Wounds fester. Without proper care, small cuts turn lethal. You clean your forearm again and again, watching the redness, measuring it, bargaining with it. Morale fractures. Arguments break out over trivial things and turn vicious quickly. Fists fly. Knives flash once. Leaders intervene harder now. Punishment is swift. Order costs lives too, but less than chaos. At night, you listen to the city beyond the walls. Sounds drift out. Music sometimes, laughter occasionally. It feels obscene. Two worlds separated by stone, one starving slowly, the other waiting. You understand, finally, that the battle in the valley was a beginning, not a climax. It stripped away illusions. What comes next will be quieter, longer, and in some ways worse. There will be no charges, no sudden rescues, just time, hunger, and pressure grinding everyone down. You lie back and stare at the walls until your eyes blur. Tomorrow will demand something new from you. It always does. For now you breathe, you endure. The city does not fall. It waits. Days bleed into each other until time loses its edges. Morning is measured by the way light creeps over the wall and finds your eyes. Night by how cold the ground feels through thinning layers of cloth. The siege settles into your body like a second skeleton, rigid and unavoidable. Hunger deepens. It stops being loud and becomes precise. Your thoughts narrow. You catch yourself staring at hands, calculating how much flesh there is on them, how long it would last if it came to that. You hate yourself for the thought, then accept it as data and move on. Morality feels heavier when calories are light. The camp smells wrong now. Rotting food scraps, unwashed bodies, waste piled where it shouldn't be. Flies become constant companions, landing on everything without fear. Disease tightens its grip. Men cough until blood speckles the dirt. Others burn with fever, eyes glassy, murmuring names you don't recognize. You step around them carefully, aware that proximity is a risk. Rations shrink again. Leadership calls it necessity. No one argues openly anymore. Complaints drain energy faster than marching ever did. You chew on leather one night, softening it over a fire, lying to yourself that it helps. Your jaw aches for hours afterward. Attempts to breach the walls come and go, ladders raised under arrow fire, men climbing, slipping, falling back broken. Each assault costs bodies and buys nothing but knowledge of what doesn't work. You watch one man reach the parapet, scream in triumph, then vanish as something heavy crushes him from above. Stone wins. It usually does. Inside the city, life continues just enough to mock you. You hear bells. Smell cooking sometimes when the wind shifts. The defenders shout insults in a language you don't speak, but the tone is universal. They are fed. They are dry. They are patient. Winter threatens at the edges of thought. Nights grow longer. Fires burn lower. Wood becomes scarce. You start saving small movements, minimizing wasted effort. Even turning your head feels optional. Then the rules change again. It starts with whispers, then confirmed by messengers who look more hollow than anyone should. An army approaches. Not reinforcements, not salvation. Another force, larger, fresher, coming to break you from the outside. Relief curdles instantly into dread. You have barely survived starvation. Now you're expected to fight again. Preparations are frantic but controlled. Armour goes back on bodies that have shrunk inside it. Straps are tightened over ribs you can count. Weapons feel heavier than before, as if they remember how much they've already taken from you. You stand in line and realize how few of you remain. Gaps everywhere, filled by men who were never meant to fight like this. Pilgrims, boys, survivors held together by routine and refusal to quit. When the enemy arrives, they do not rush. They surround, they probe, they test. You recognize the patience. It feels familiar. The irony doesn't make it easier to swallow. The first clash is brief and violent. You move on instinct because thinking would be slower. Blades ring. Bodies collide. You feel the jolt of impact travel up your arms and into your teeth. A man lunges at you and misses. You answer without elegance, just force, and he goes down. You don't look back to see if he stays there. The city gates open behind you. Suddenly pressure shifts. Defenders pour out, desperate and precise, attacking the new enemy with the ferocity of people who know what losing means. For a moment, chaos favours you. The attackers hesitate, caught between two threats. Momentum swings. You push forward because stopping feels worse. Your lungs burn. Your vision narrows. Sound compresses into dull thuds and distant shouting. You fight the man in front of you and nothing else exists. When it ends unevenly. Pockets of resistance collapse, others flee. You are too tired to pursue far. Victory, if that's what this is, tastes like ash. You lean on your spear and wait for your hands to stop shaking. The siege breaks, not with a cheer, but with a collective exhale. Supplies are seized. Food appears again, cautiously at first, then with reckless speed. People eat too fast and get sick. Lessons repeat themselves. Survival is a poor teacher, but persistent. Inside the city, the aftermath is worse than the fighting. Streets choked with bodies, the smell overwhelming. Order breaks down briefly, then hardens into something sharp and ugly. Discipline returns wearing a different face. You see things done that you do not want to remember, and yet you remember them anyway. You move through it like a ghost, participating without enthusiasm, avoiding reflection because it costs too much. Your body is still here. That becomes the only standard. Days later, when movement resumes, you walk out through gates that once seemed impossible to breach. The city shrinks behind you. Another marker passed, another cost paid. The road continues south, always south. Heat returns, hunger never fully leaves. You no longer expect relief to last. At night, you sit apart from the fire and think about how narrow the line is between living and ending. How much of it comes down to timing, to standing still when running would feel better, to enduring when logic says stop. You're not transformed into something noble by this. You're stripped. What remains is practical. You know now what you can survive. You know how much suffering fits inside a human body before it gives out. Ahead lies another city, another wall, another test. The future does not promise less pain, only different shapes of it. You shoulder your pack when it's time and take the next step, then another. That is how this continues, not with destiny, with motion,